Alright guys, so today I'm going to introduce to you to a 3D sculpting software called ZBrush. And ZBrush is one of the many programs that a lot of game and film companies use to create their 3D models. And personally, I really love this program because it gives me a lot of artistic freedom when it comes to modeling 3D models. So before we get started, what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder on our desktop, and we're going to name it. In this case, I'm going to name it ZBrush project. And the reason for that is because whenever you're starting any project, you should always be organized and you should always have a folder named after that project, and inside that folder you should always have anything that has to do with whatever you're working on. Okay, now let's open ZBrush. Okay, now that ZBrush has opened, as you can see at first glance it looks a little bit intimidating, especially if you have never touched any 3D program before. But don't worry, I'll be teaching you step by step and as clearly as possible so you guys can understand. Okay, so the first thing that you are going to notice is that when you open ZBrush, this box is going to appear. Okay, now this box is called a lightbox, and a lightbox is basically a media browser inside ZBrush that is going to help you to search for load pictures, models, and textures, anything that you're going to use along the way. Okay, so I obviously don't want to have this box all the time if I'm trying to sculpt something on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this button that says Lightbox, and I'm going to click on it. Now once I click on it, as you can see, it hides the box, and if for whatever reason I want it back, I can always click on it and I can choose whatever I need. Alright, now ZBrush has an array of buttons and menus and controls that at first they can seem a little overwhelming, but one of the things that I like about ZBrush is that if you, for example, go and hover over any of these buttons right here and you press on your keyboard the command key, you're going to get a box that basically is going to tell you what each button does and how to use it. Now I find this very helpful, especially if you're a first timer and maybe you are not sure what any of these buttons do, or you just forgot. Okay, so now let's look at the interface. So whenever I'm going to start a new project, I like to set up a simple interface. So to do that, I'm going to go all the way up here where this button is, and as you can see it says load next user interface layout, and I'm going to click it. Now every time I click the button, you're going to see my interface change. So let's look at that. Alright, so my favorite interface is this one, as you can see, and the reason why is because it has the brushes and the materials here that I usually use every time I'm sculpting something. Now another option that you have up here is this button that says load next user interface color, and what this does is basically when you click on it, you can change the color, and it's up to you if you want to change it. Okay, I really don't mind the color. I like this color, but if you want, you can change it. Now, before we start sculpting, there's one more thing that I like to do, and that is change this gradient, because personally I don't like it. I think that every time I'm working on any detail on any character, the gradient gets on my way. Also, as you can see, my canvas or my viewport looks a little bit smaller than it should be, and that's because the size of my monitor is a little bit big. So I'm going to change that too. So to change that, I'm going to go to this menu right here, and I'm going to go where it says document, and I'm going to go all the way here where it says range, and I'm going to grab the slider and drag it all the way down to 0. And as you can see now, it changed it to a solid gray color, but it hasn't changed anything regarding the size of my canvas. So I'm going to go back, going to press document, and I'm going to go all the way down here where it says double. Alright, and now the canvas has expanded. Usually if you are working on a smaller desktop or smaller monitor, let's say a laptop, you won't have this problem. But if you're working on a larger monitor, then you just have to do that little extra step. Okay, so now let's put something on our canvas. So if you're a first timer, or if you're going to start a new project, what you can do is you can go back to our lightbox. Alright, and you can choose one of these pre-models that ZBrush has, or maybe a sphere. Usually I start with spheres, but since I want to teach you guys the navigation controls, I'm going to use the dog that ZBrush has. Okay, so let's click no. Alright, so now you see the dog on my viewport, and it's inside 3D space. And as you notice right here, it's given me more settings, which I will go over those later on. Okay, so let's talk about quickly the navigation controls. Okay, so there's 3 navigation controls. We have the rotation control, the moving control, and the zooming control. So let's start with the first one, which is going to be the rotation control. Okay, so to rotate your 3D model, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the canvas, and you're going to hold down to that click, and then you're going to move it to either the right or the left, whichever you want to rotate. See? Right? So that's the rotation control. Now, if you want to move your 3D model, let's say side to side or up and down, what you're going to do is you're going to hit your Alt or your Option key on your keyboard, and you're going to hold down to it, and then you're going to click on your canvas, and you're going to hold down to that click, and then you can drag your mouse up and down or side to side, and that's how you will use the move tool. That's how you use it. Now let's go over the zoom tool, the zoom control. So the zoom control can be a little bit tricky, but it's not impossible, and once you get to manage how to use all the navigation controls, it's going to become second nature. It might seem a little bit difficult at first, especially if you have never touched any 3D program, but if you have, it's very similar to a lot of other 3D programs. Okay, so let's zoom in and out. So what we're gonna do is, again, we're going to hold down to our key button, our Alt or Option key button on our keyboard, and then we're going to click on the canvas, and we're going to hold down to that click, and then we're going to move our mouse up and down, okay, like this. And while you're doing that, we're going to let go of our Alt or Control key. And once we did, now you can zoom in and zoom out. Okay. Alright, so once you understand the navigation controls, I would suggest for you guys to practice your navigation controls, because that's going to make your life way easier when it comes to sculpting things really fast and blocking things and things like that. But if you're a first timer, I know that it might take a little while, but you'll see that when you practice, it's going to become second nature. Now, there's another option that you can use so that you can move around, and those are right here. And we have here the move, the zoom, and the rotate buttons, which they're going to do the same thing. They're also navigation controls. So how does these buttons work is that if you just press on them, nothing really is going to happen. So what you have to do is you have to click on them, right, once. So you're going to click right now on the move control, and you're going to hold down to that click. Alright, so once you hold down to that click, now you can drag your mouse up and down or side to side. Alright, so the zoom control, the zoom button right here, works the same way. You're going to click on it and hold down to the click, and then you're going to drag your mouse up and down, and that's how you're going to zoom in and out. Okay, so the rotate control, same thing, the button right here. So you're going to click on it, alright, and hold on to the click, and you're going to drag your mouse side to side to whichever side you want to rotate. Alright, okay, so I hope you guys learned something today. If you have any question regarding anything we went over so far, you can always ask me. Don't hesitate to ask. I will gladly go over anything that you did not understood. And our next lesson, we're going to talk about the brushes and the materials, the colors, some of the tools right here. And it's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to start sculpting onto our 3D models, okay? Alright, thank you for paying attention, and I'll see you next time.